Hello and welcome to the Megadraft Finals for the Kamigawa Neon Dynasty Sealed League. And we're backseating Ben DP with the first pick of the draft here. And Richard, what do you think of this pack?
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. Invoke Despair is an interesting card, but very hard to cast. Okiba Reckoner Raid and Virus Butyl were standouts in their format, but in this format, which is covering all the sets in Standard, don't know if they'll be as good as they are in their format. But it looks like he's highlighted the Virus Butyl for the time being.
Right. A lot of their power was specifically because Virus Beetle was an artifact and was a good thing to pick up with ninjas. And in the Megadraft format, less of the cards available are going to care about either of those two things.
Yeah,
But Virus Beetle, a reasonable choice to go with.
yeah.
Master's Rebuke, maybe another card you could have looked at.
Yeah, so for the Mega Draft, we're going in reverse chronological order of all the sets in Standard. So there's going to be a round of Kamigawa, then a round of Crimson Vow, all the way back to, I believe it's Zendikar Rising. And they're
Yeah,
going to be
and it looks
building a 60 card deck.
like here he's highlighted the modern age, as opposed to the ninja tribal payoff that you might have taken if you were in Neon Dynasty draft specifically.
Yeah,
Modern age, go
I
ahead.
think it's pretty close between the Modern Age and the Selfless Samurai. That Selfless Samurai, the second effect can target any type of creature to give
Mhm.
indestructible, so it's
And there
not
are a lot
just
of
for Kamigawa.
there are a lot more warriors outside of Kamigawa than there are ninjas, that's for
Mm-hmm.
sure, and even rogues. But yeah, modern age just a very solid card. Turns into a DC flyer. Helps you, smooth out your draws.
Yeah, this is going to be a
Not
good
going to
card.
complain.
Yeah, this is going to be a good card in any type of deck he ends up playing if he plays blue.
Hmm. Interesting spot here. The rare no one's been tempted by the quad pipped replenish. So he can go down that route if he so chooses, but I suspect that he's going to go with something different.
Yeah,
Um, if you're interested in staying open, Master's Rebuke is always a decent effect. Roadside Reliquary as a land that does a thing, uh, with 7 packs to pick from, even though it's a 60 card deck, just value over replacement of lands over basics is going to be higher than your average, common or uncommon. So that's a card to be looking at specifically.
yeah.
Network Disruptor, what do you think of that one, Richard?
Looks like he selected Network Disruptor. I'm kind of in the same boat as I am with the Virus Beetle, and it's excellent in its format. Not sure when you throw it in with just all the cards in Standard, how much better it's going to be than maybe something like you mentioned, like a Roadside Reliquary or a Master's Rebuke, which will just always do what it says it does. Uh, but he's going for the Kamigawa. What's been powerful in Kamigawa with the Network Disruptor.
And speaking of powerful in Kamigawa, this pack's pretty juiced. Like, if you've got, this is pick 4. If you're picking between Replication Specialist and Tails at this stage in Kamigawa draft, you're feeling pretty happy. Those are both premium cards.
Yeah,
Thirst
well,
and Tanuki, not bad themselves.
I
Um,
think there's enough artifacts running around that a restoration specialist, as a 5 mana 3/4 flying, which on its face is just
yeah,
acceptable, that can get some pretty good upside. There's artifacts in every set.
right. But the trouble is, outside of Kamigawa, that's not really where they invested the power budget specifically. Uh, like if you're picking, the D&D cards or the Crimson Vow cards, paying 2 to copy. Wait, does it actually let you copy blood and treasure tokens? I don't
It's
remember
non
if it does.
tokens.
Okay. I guess in that
Because then
case,
in theory, you would just, as much mana you have, you would just be able to chain whatever artifact you had for as many times as you had 2 mana,
oh,
which
that's a
might get
good
a
point.
little obnoxious.
Yeah, that would be a bit broken. This pack
Nothing,
seems a lot tougher.
yeah, nothing that interesting here. If he wants to stay blue, Essence Capture will be fine.
SS Capture is going to be better outside of Kamigawa than it will
Yeah,
be inside, I think, because a lot of the creatures in Kamigawa were either played as sagas or ninjutsu. So
or
Essence Capture missed
vehicles
a
as
lot.
well.
Yeah, or vehicles too. Essence Capture missed a lot in Kamigawa. It's probably going to hit more reliably in this
Yeah,
format.
it was a bit of a strange reprint, really, for this set.
I feel like they wanted to show just how bad it could be.
I mean, it gives you a modified creature, but other than that,
Yeah, well, that's not, yeah.
it wasn't the best
Looks
format
like
for it.
that's made its way into the deck here.
Yeah, well, if he's trying to stay blue, there's not much here to get him off of what he has. So
That was the only blue card available,
yeah,
but that means someone else took the non-foil blue common. So that's maybe it should give a bit of pause. Yeah, here it looks like in blue all we've got is Side the Trespassers, which is a fairly mid card, although it's not as if there's much else in this pack that's uh, that exciting.
yeah, these are just a bunch of cards that in a 60 card deck, unless your deck is really focused on doing specific things, a lot of these cards will most likely not make the cut a lot of the time.
I would snag Repel the Vial here, just as an effect that is handy to have around in the certain matchups.
Yeah, Repel Vile is a good sideboard card. So uh, again, this is first Mega Draft, so I can see he's not going to take that
Marcel
right now.
Lover
It looks
is
like he's
really
taking,
leaning into
yeah,
those artifact synergies, I think.
yeah.
Uh,
He might just want to go for an aggressive deck, and that's the most aggressive card in the pack.
it's true that would make his network disruptor and goes well with essence capture sort of on sort of a tempo plan.
Yeah, the
Uh,
goal I think of the Mega Draft is to find cards that play well with just what you're going to find in Standard, which for the most part is just you want cards that are generically good in most situations rather than cards that are like specifically good in very few situations.
Speaking of
So
generically good, I think I'd be taking that Shrine Steward here just because you're probably going to get like a Charm Sleep type effect or some equivalent
yeah,
in the next seven packs, right? Like that
yeah,
thing's going to have a hit or two you can
yeah.
pretty
Shrine
much
Steward is
assume.
a good hedge here. Looks like he's
I'm
just
not a
going to
huge
try and
fan of
cut blue
taking
for this
the fancy
disruption protocol.
cancel. Yeah, Runaway Trash Bot. I mean, how did you wind up on that card in Kamigawa? It never quite got there for me.
Yeah, I didn't end up in a deck in many decks that could make use of that. I'd be looking here towards Wanderer's Intervention just as a removal spell. You just want those,
Yeah,
despite the fact he doesn't have any white cards yet.
there's been a few packs with, decently playable white interaction going around.
Yeah,
Not saying that's conclusive or anything, but just as a note for going
yeah,
forward. Looks
he's
like he's still on putting artifacts together.
yeah he's gonna try and go for the at least get as many artifacts as he can in this pack and
Hmm.
see what he can do after. Which if he's
Well,
trying
hey,
to get a lot of
there's your big
artifacts,
uncommon payoff.
there's a payoff right there. The reality heist.
Oh, yeah. Dig through time, but instead of delve, it's got affinity. That's an artifact payoff right there.
Yeah.
Except it only hits artifacts, I guess. Maybe it's not dig through time. Maybe it's
Yeah, you
much
look at
worse.
top seven, you can reveal up to two artifacts.
Hmm. How much worse is that than dig through time? Like I think half your non-lands have to be artifacts for that to be reliably getting you two hits.
Yeah,
That's
it's
kind
going
of
to be
scary.
tough, and especially in a 60 card deck.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Another cancel here if he wants that.
If he's sticking with blue, there's not much here that
Well,
would
he's
tempt
got
him
20
out of blue.
seconds to read Discover the Impossible and try to remember what it does, because no one,
I
I don't
think
think
I think
anyone ever
I think
passed
it
that
draws a
card.
card. I think it draws a card.
Yeah.
A lot of words to say draw a card.
Hmm.
So far he's stocking up on the blue cards, hoping for some artifact synergies.
It's a reasonable place to be. Surprised that Reliquary made it around. I
Yeah,
guess what's happening there is people are reading that and thinking artifacts and enchantments, that's a Kamigawa thing. You're not going to have
yeah.
as high density them outside of it.
I think even if it sacks to draw one card, like that's fine. I think
Yeah, what
that's
was that? Like M20 had
yeah. It was a
Crystal Caves or
cryptic
something? Cryptic
caves.
Caves, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, you could
Looks like
only
he's
do it
gone
if
for
you
the
had
Bloodfell Caves
you can
there,
only do it if you
which,
had five lands in play, I believe.
right. But you only really wanted to do it if you had five
Yeah,
lands in play.
so he's taking the
Okay.
Steel Breaker here just as an artifact that if he does end up with heavy artifact deck, that card can do some work.
Yeah, I think his only non-artifact creature right now is the Replication Specialist. So that's a pretty good
Which
setup.
cares about artifacts, so that all
Oh, he
works
sure
for him.
does.
No, not sure what he's looking for here. Repel the Vile would be a pick just because it can be sideboarded in if you're playing that color.
I think I would have grabbed the vehicle there. Sometimes you just want a
Yeah.
big beater.
There's a
But
Dramatis puppet, which I have never seen cast.
it's what's the camel from Amonkhet that does the same thing?
It was the
But
Quarry Hauler.
yeah, thank you. It's a Quarry Hauler reprint, but an artifact. And now we're
Well,
on to
the
Crimson
Quarry
Battle.
Hauler could actually potentially kill creatures because it could add a -1 counter to something.
That's true. And here we're
Here's
on Crimson
Crimson
Vow.
Vow, our most bomb heavy set here, but he does not have a bomb rare to
Well, I
consider
mean,
here.
that's sort of a bomb rare. It's a bomb in the right deck, but it's a very situational bomb. Um, yeah, it looks like here in a vacuum, I think if you're not interested in a life gain deck, you're probably looking at the Bleed Dry
Yeah,
or the is the Wolf cast the one that makes oh no, that's just the discounted one with that draws cards when wolves die.
on the backside, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Bleed Dry is like the best card here, just for what he's got. Scattered Thoughts is a fine card, but not really what you're looking to first pick over here.
Yeah, it's a bit of a rough pack for our blue drafter here to only get the one blue common.
Yeah,
And
well, I mean, his second color right now is open. He doesn't really have a second color yet, so Bleed
that's
Dry
true.
might pull him into that direction.
Yeah, how committal do you think that is here? Like, if you do you think at this point he's more likely to wind up blue black,
Not
or is
sure.
it?
He didn't pass much black in the first pack, so you might see an abundance here.
Hmm.
So there's another Bleed Dry, which would be very
Oh,
interesting.
oh yeah, yeah. The Biolume Egg is was a good card, and that was saddled with being in a deck that didn't usually quite get there. The Exploit deck in Vow was a little bit underwhelming, and I'm not sure there's many ways to sack it outside of this set. So unfortunately, I guess he's gonna go for the second bleed dry as well.
Yeah, I think
I think he's locked it in.
that's what he wants here, and I think those are fair choices.
Bleed dry just there's just very little that doesn't kill and doesn't deal with permanently. Like
Yeah, basically has to have hexproof, really.
yeah, or I don't know if there's anything bigger than with toughness bigger than that, then you've got a bigger set of problems.
In Val, there's a 113, so if you get that guy big enough, he can't be bled dry. But
Okay.
I think the overwhelming majority of cards will fall to the bleed dry.
Here's the giant crab rare in Zendikar,
Oh,
the
sure.
O 07, yeah, the O 17.
Mm-hmm. All right, so still no blue to be had here.
There
Diagraph
is,
Scavenger is a
yeah,
good follow up.
Baby Siege Rhino, as it came to be known.
If he is really still interested in red, there's the Falcon Rat Celebrants, which was really a very good performer in that format. But
It does make two artifacts.
it goes better. The Diagraph Scavenger goes better with the bleed dries, obviously.
Yes, this is an interesting pivot point. If I think if he takes a Diagraph Scavenger here, he's moving off of artifact synergy as a primary goal of his
Yeah.
deck.
I mean, he didn't see
Um,
anything to put him in red, to be fair.
yeah, the hmm.
He
It
just
looks
took
like he's
those.
already
He just took those
cutting
red
some of
cards as
the
sort of
red cards out. Yeah,
whatever. Yeah. Well, he put the
I
reality
think.
heist away as well. I think he's not going to force that. I mean, replication specialist is still a fine card. Like if you have, you know, 5 or 6 artifacts in your deck, still going to
Yeah,
run
I
it.
think it's good that he sort of identified at this relatively early stage that the synergy stuff wasn't really worth going for. Like that's a good sign, I think, for him going forwards.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I mean,
Whispering Wizard
Yeah,
is
Whispering Wizard. I think
yeah
we both saw that one as potentially a very very impactful include.
yeah. It's
Looks
not
like
quite
he's
as good as the 1/5 uh from the
it was
Demir
Guilds of
from the
Ravnica.
Ravnica set.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that also makes spirits but is
Notably,
a 1/5.
this one triggers off of any non-creature, whereas the other one had instant or sorceries. But yeah, they're both very good.
The other one you could block with.
Sure.
They're losing it.
Yeah. So he was waffling there, potentially thinking about the Wandering Mind there, but
Mm.
did settle on the Whispering Wizard.
Yeah, the Wandering Mind also not quite the type of card you're looking to splash for. I don't think it's maybe
Yeah.
not. Yeah, it's a nice little utility player, but you need to build your deck in a specific way, and probably just not quite powerful enough to be worth hurting your mana base in that way.
Not at this
Uh,
point, no.
Tough
So
pack for blue black. Wander,
well,
Wretched Throng, Collect 'em all. Mind
tough
Leech
pack for
School,
most
not very good.
colors, really.
Yeah,
Like you got a Spore Crawler here as an interesting card, and like a red burn spell, and the rest of the pack is you know
I don't like. I
filler.
didn't hate Sawblade Stinger just as a
Oh, sure.
big Rex Age. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, Mind Leech School is fine. You know, you want 2 drops in this format. Uh, you could do worse than that.
Good, but it's the sort of card that's just you're going to wind up with a bunch of comparably decent small creatures pretty much no matter what you do in
Yeah,
this sort of mega draft.
we'll see. He hasn't settled on a card yet, but
Yeah, I think this would be a time when I would take a green card uh, on the grounds of staying open, either Sawblade or Spore Crawler.
well,
Yeah, it looks like
he
he's
agrees
got
with you there.
those in mind.
He put it to the sideboard right
Yeah,
away,
and then
but
this is a
yeah,
nice little following up here, right? The Oak Shade Stalker. I forgot what the backside does, but it's a green uncommon.
I believe it's just a 6/3.
It's just a 6/3.
I believe.
Central Courser, but it can be flash if you pay more
Yeah,
versus like what's
I
the
mean,
second best card
I
here?
mean, Cradle of
Maybe
Safety
the
is a good card. Like, it's just a generically strong
yeah,
card.
I'm not a huge fan of it to be honest.
Okay.
Unless there's something really specific I feel like I need to protect, but Whispering Wizard I think is the only card that fits the description here so far.
Yeah, so far, but he's gonna
It's
take
not
this
even
as the only blue card.
fair enough.
Right? If he's uh, if he's looking for only blue or black cards, the Rot Tide Gargantua
Yeah,
was a
that's one
pretty
of your
okay card.
better that's one of your better exploit cards.
Pairs nicely with his Virus Beetle, if that ever comes
Yeah,
up.
there's Network Disruptor. I don't think
Yeah.
Entomber really got there. Uh,
No, not sure if
Maybe close to that.
that's what he wants here.
I think maybe in a vacuum, the best card is the 4/2 that you can make indestructible. That card just sometimes will just start bashing, and there's nothing really the opponent can do about it. But that's not really
Yeah,
where his deck's lined up right now.
he's. I think he's
Yeah, he's
settling on the
gonna.
Rot Tide, which is what we were
That seems
suspecting.
reasonable.
Couple of okay
Ooh.
options here. Stitched Assistant can be okay. If he wants a 6 drop, he can take the crab here, but there's many 6 drops to be had in this type of format.
Blood Servitor is as a creature that makes 2 artifacts and
Yeah,
lets you rummage
it's an
is
artifact. He can copy
a
it with the
decent card.
Restoration Specialist.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think Dreadlight Monstrosity is a powerful card, but you're right. There's often you wind up with a surplus of those expensive, medium power common creatures, and he's likely going to be able to fill that slot, even if he doesn't wind up with that card in particular. Ceremonial Knife, an
yeah,
interesting one. I remember that did a bit of work
this was the
in the
pack he
draft.
opened. I mean, it's another cheap artifact.
I
Again,
think at this
so
point, though, I'm interested in just hard pivoting into Simic here. Like the amount of green cards we've seen is high enough that I would start picking as if that were an option I wanted to keep open.
yeah. I
Not that
mean,
Sermo Knife is a bad card,
he
but
did
if you're trying to
note
read things,
he did note that when he took the green card a few picks ago, but the
yeah,
bleed dries are just they're very appealing. I think.
that's true. And Wolfkin Outcast doesn't actually do that much outside of a format
Mm.
with werewolves in it. So
No,
I guess it's not as
that's gonna be
big
tough
a
to
deal.
really get going. I mean, repository scab could be an okay one here. We'll see how much
I
sack
usually
fodder he ends
don't.
up with.
Crawling Infestation could be a fun one. I'm still on this green pivot here, trying to see if any of these cards are going to be good outside of their set.
Uh,
Cartographer Surveyor is not.
there's a bounce spell here. I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes you want one, sometimes you don't. Has the upside of being a little bit cheaper if you're bouncing your own guy.
it's true. It's no Into the Royal, but he'll
But
do.
we don't get that very often at common. So
Oh, we're gonna get there in the last pick
yeah,
of
we
this
might
7 pack
we
draft.
might just see one of those. All right, a bunch of not very impactful cards here.
I mean, Millipede is a card I might have looked at over the one he just took. Just and it can be really big
So
sometimes, but these are pretty marginal cards.
looks like he's somewhat set on this blue black build.
Mm.
Definitely think he needs to get some creatures lower on the curve coming up. I mean, we still have quite a few packs to go, but you don't want to run out of time before you're desperate for them.
Yeah, for those watching, we're finishing pack 2 here, which normally puts you 2/3 of the way through a draft. We are 2/7 of the way
Yeah.
through a draft, which means we're not even 1/3 of the way through the draft.
Yep.
So if you're looking at his deck, you should be evaluating it about as you would evaluate your own deck after pack 1 of
Yeah.
a normal size
All
draft.
right. So now we're moving into Midnight Hunt, for which he has
Oh,
a
the
rare, the
much.
Patrician Geist,
Oh no,
which
that's
is
a foil uncommon. Oh no, it's a foil rare.
it's a
Never
three
mind.
mana 2/2 flying with some upside that might come up, which is spells you cast from your graveyard cost one less, and your other spirits are pumped +1/+1. So it has some minor upsides, which obviously in its format are much better than it will be in this type of format. He still might take that, though the bait hook angler is very good as well.
Yeah, I think. I mean, if color
He's
aside, I
checking
think
for.
the best card here is the
He's
Rune
doing a
Rager's
spirit
Fire.
check, of which the only thing I
Yeah,
can find is that his modern age becomes a spirit, I believe,
I guess Wizard makes
and the
spirits as
wizard
well.
makes spirit tokens. But 3 mana 2/2
Yeah.
flying. Are there anything outside of Midnight and Crimson Vow that allow you to cast spells from the graveyard? Trying to think about the other sets in Standard. I don't believe there was any mechanics that allowed you to cast things from the graveyard.
Yeah, not particularly that I can remember either.
Yeah, that last one I could think of was Escape, which was a little bit further back.
Hmm. Vengeful Strangler. That's the one that comes back as an aura that makes them sack something, if I remember
Yeah,
right.
and they lose a life.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that could be a fine creature.
The trouble is there was no. You needed a way to get it dead, right? Because it can't block and trade off.
Yeah,
And
Shady
that might be
Traveler
harder to do
was
outside of its set.
almost always just filler.
Yeah. Blood Pact is a reasonable card that
Yeah,
you're
I'd be interested in
not
Blood
gonna.
Pact. He doesn't have card draw yet, so
Yeah.
kind of interested in getting it. It's
I
a
mean,
two for one.
if you're not stuck into blue black, what are you taking here? Are you taking Dawnheart Mentor,
I
Search
mean,
Party
yeah,
Captain?
the Dawnheart Mentor, the Search Party Captain stand out to me. He's reading the
Hmm.
backside of the Vengeful Strangler here.
Not sure where I would go here. Looks like he's looking at the Blood Pact. That seems
Yeah,
reasonable. Just a bit disappointing for a second pick out of
yeah. I
a
think
pack.
you want two for ones, and it's not an exciting two for one, but it does the trick, and that's what he settled
Two
on.
points of burn.
There you go. Yes, I believe that's one of the ones where you could target your opponent if they're low enough.
Hmm.
So,
We've
despite
got
the
a blue
fact that he
black gold
opened
card.
a gold card here, I'm not sure if that's the best for his deck. Um, Crawl from the Cellar is a very good card.
Yeah, Erased Dead with buyback
I'm not sure he
is
has for zombies. He has the Diagraph Scavenger, the Rot Tide Gargantua, and I believe the Repository Scab are all zombies.
and there are more zombies
Yeah,
outside of Midnight
they
Hunt.
don't show up in blue very much though, but in
That's true.
black there's zombies definitely in Kaldheim. There's
Hmm.
zombies in AFR, and not sure if there's zombies in Zendikar. At Strixhaven, I believe there weren't any.
Strixhaven was zombie free, as far as I
Yeah,
remember.
Zendikar
Yeah.
maybe had a couple, but I know that in Kaldheim there were a lot of zombies, so
Mm.
you can at least expect to maybe
Yeah. Plus,
grab
there's the
something.
changelings.
Yes, of course, Changeling as well.
Oh, here, I think you're pretty happy to take the contagious, covetous castaway
Yeah, Covetous
rather.
Castaway.
That's
Siege Zombie was very good in its format. Less so in this
yeah,
type of format,
yeah. Without
where
all
you
the
can't.
decayed tokens running
Yeah,
around. Yeah,
we can't be guaranteed to just flood the board with decays. Yeah, this Covetous Castaway is just quite a good two drop. It defends you, and it turns into a threat later that can actually, get back cards you want into your deck.
yeah. If you remember, we're talking about replication specialist as a 5 mana 3/4 flyer. Well, this is a card that draws you a 5 mana 3/4 flyer. How's that for value?
It's not bad.
That would be my description of this draft so far. Is it's not bad. We're just sort of we're missing a few things. We've got good interaction pieces, but our proactive plan is a bit all over the place right now because we've got some tempo cards, we've got some value cards, we've got some artifact synergy cards, and they're just overall a bit low on power, I would say.
Yeah, my conclusion was that the power level is a bit low here. It doesn't have a lot of high impact cards yet, but there's still
Yeah,
time to get to sort through that.
like Storm Rider Spirit, for instance, is a perfectly decent card that was able to do some good things in its format, but when you're going against other decks that had 7 packs to hit cards, it might just wind up being a bit outclassed in a 5 mana slot.
I mean, Novice Occultist pairs well with the he has two exploit cards, so
Mm,
that could be something that would pair well with it. It's
it's true.
just a good
It's
little
your
two drop.
second. Yeah, I think here. Again, probably the best card in a vacuum is the Contortionist Troop, if I had to say. Like that card
Yep, so
um,
he did settle
could
on
take
the
over a game on its own. Novice
occultist.
Occultist. Okay.
All right. So Locked in the Cemetery is a card that I seem to remember it wasn't very good in its format, but it's a removal spell.
It's a card to find off your Shrine Steward. I think it might be our first hit off
Didn't
of.
he didn't he didn't take
Oh,
the
we didn't
Shrine
take the
Steward
Shrine
out.
Steward. Ah, yeah. That's unfortunate.
Yeah,
Uh,
he Locked in the Cemetery. I mean, if you need to play it, you play it. It taps the thing down.
yeah, I still think we're getting, like, based on the packs we're getting, like, Eccentric Farmer still being there is
Yeah,
another tell to me that there's fewer green drafters at this table than there are blue or especially black drafters. Um, like, the main reason he's in black right now is he got pick 1 and 2 bleed dry. And those are good cards, but they're not a signal that people aren't taking black cards. Those just happen
yeah.
to be in the
He's
packs.
got there's a Simic rare here. Um,
Slow Gurk.
Mostly just going to be a 3/3 for 3. That
Whenever a land card goes into your bin, put a counter on it. You can
yes,
take counters off to pick it back up, and when it
and
leaves, you get lands out of your bin. Yeah, that card's a bit odd.
yeah, it was good. It was good in with the self mill deck
Mm.
in
I mean, I
League
guess it works,
Megadraft.
yeah, with Eccentric Farmer and stuff.
Yes, there was like tapping at the window, organ hoarder, all of these type of things. So
Look at the
looks like he
Sunset
took the Sunset
Revelries.
Revelry. Maybe just take
I'm
it
not
out of the
sure how
draft.
intentional that was,
I mean, I
because
think
it was
Gale
a timeout
Drifter
pick.
is a pretty good one here. That's later than he was maybe expecting.
Yeah, I remember it being kind of slow for the format it was in, but just being a flyer that doesn't do another flyer, it seems like a good effect. Flying is in Chaos Draft is a really good ability.
Yes, flying is good. Particularly in this type of chaos. Though, I mean, we know what sets are being drafted, but it still resembles a chaos draft more than any other structured format.
Yeah, and notably, no green cards in that pack, so
Nothing green. The
maybe the
Rock
table's
Reunion
not
is
as one
also
sided.
completely playable card.
I don't know if I go that far. I think it's only like if you're not actually taking cards out of their bin, they can cast with it. Like two Decayed Zombies isn't that much. It's nice in a spells deck, right? Because it's two instant or sorcery triggers, but I don't think we're anywhere near there here,
So
even with
here,
the Whispering Wizard.
guess he could take the unblinking observer. I think
At
he's
some
reading
point, I'm gonna.
Necrosynthesis and coming to the conclusion that he's not taking it
I
after
was
reading
hoping
it.
he didn't take it because then I would have to remember what that card did.
I imagine he was highlighting it to read it.
uh,
I believe it gets
Richard,
counters
what?
when other creatures die,
And then what
and
happens?
when the creature dies, you draw cards equal to its power or something.
Well, that actually sounds kind of decent. So it can't be. It can't be that.
Either way.
Oh, look at the top X and then get one. Okay,
Oh, you
that's
draw
a lot.
one.
Yeah, you draw
Okay,
one out of X for X of the fire. That's a lot
never
fairer.
mind. I was my hopes and dreams were that it was better than I remembered.
The card you described is a card that I feel like I would have seen someone cast.
So
Mystic's so
there's yeah,
mana fixing, and it becomes a vanilla 5/6 that
yeah.
is tapped on the first turn you make
Remember that
it.
card
Yeah,
being
that
quite bad. He took Secrets of the Key here.
also a
It
card I
does make
remember being
artifacts,
pretty
but
bad. Yeah.
there's nothing he has that actually I believe cares about having artifacts in play except for his reality heist.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, well, here's your green cards.
Yeah,
And there
there's
was I guess, Bird
a
Admirer out
hauler.
of the other pack too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty minor.
yeah. We want to focus on what he is doing, which is
True.
this blue black deck. All right, let's see what the next pack gives us, which was Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, which a very bad rare there, Instrument of the Bards.
That's that one that lets you impulse for legends, if I remember right.
Um, I don't. It's
tutors for
it. You
legends.
get
Okay.
creatures. No, I think it
Oh, never
gets
mind.
any creature, but it's just really
It
slow.
get, okay, it has a legendary payoff where you get a treasure. But
So a few okay options for him here. The Mind Sorcerer is fine. Precipitous Drop, outside of AFR is not going to be that good. The Arcult Elemental seems interesting. Let's see what
I
he
remember
prefers.
Mind Sorcerer being one of the ones where the dice roll really swung the the card
Yeah, like
from
sometimes you actively don't want to put it on top of your deck
right,
if you're
exactly.
behind.
He's got a couple good cards to get back with it, so I'm
Oh yeah,
not. I think it's a decent choice
it's
here.
definitely better than
Just
the Drown Yard Amalgam, which he immediately
that's
sent to
that
the
much is
sideboard.
true.
Notably, he took out the Rot Tide Gargantua from his current build, but
I'm a bit surprised by that. He's got some
yeah,
decent sack fodder and an edict effect, even though it's not the greatest thing in the world, isn't nothing either.
no, but I mean, it comes with a 5/4, so
Right, exactly.
uh,
Here he's got, I think the Ginny Windseer is just a really solid card that you're pretty much always going to play.
yeah, Ginny Windseer was very good in his format and will be as good in this type of format. Looks like he moused over the Scion of Stygia, which also is a serviceable card, but the Windseer would be my preference here.
My memories of trying to draft Blue Decks in AFR was that you leaned in that card to try and keep you alive, and mostly it didn't quite get there, but it was your best bet.
I think blue is misunderstood in that format,
That's
but
one word for it.
yeah, Windseer, just another flyer. It looks like he's has a few evasion creatures, so if you can get some more cheap interaction, pair it with the evasion creatures, yeah, you could have a good deck here.
That's a solid game plan that stays around for a reason. Here, this is an interesting one. I think you're off of Grim Wanderer. Like it's sort of like you have to do your exploit thing and then play Grim Wanderer, basically, or
It's hard
hope
to
that
use.
they kill something pre-combat on their turn. And
Sad to see a
I'm not
priest
sure
of
what else
ancient
you're.
lore here.
Yeah,
I'm a
that's
fan of these little creatures that draw a card or make opponent discard a card. So
yeah. I
uh,
think Priest is the best card. I back him here by a ways, and for his deck, I'm not sure where I would go.
yeah,
Um,
I'm not sure
and
if
I
he's
think
really
he's not
looking
sure either,
for feign death
to be
here.
honest.
You might be looking at his black cards and being like, aside from the bleed dry, what do I got?
Yeah, this is I think what we were discussing a few minutes ago, right? Is that's his reason to be black, and that might have been a bit unfortunate with the path that sent him down, just the
Yeah,
way the rest of the drafts turned out.
yeah. I mean, aside from the bleed dries, it's not too much going on. Looks like he's gonna wait till the last minute here
Well, he's
to
got three
finally
seconds. He's
select
picked.
a 50 feet of rope.
That's the one that keeps a tapped down thing tapped, if I remember right.
Yeah, and or you could venture into the dungeon for
Hmm.
4.
I don't hate that honestly. Like some of these games do drag on forever, and
Yeah, it depends what opponent's doing. Depends how well he's able to defend himself early game to
right.
make that be good.
Gonna run into the guy with all the creatures have vigilance for some reason and just be sad. Dried are a very good card that never managed to quite get through to actually hit the opponent, but
I
was
very rarely
scary.
ever got the trigger from that. So he decides to go with the other
Yeah.
5 drop here, the zombie ogre, which is a bit better of a blocker, and
Mm.
the ability comes up. I mean that you can
Yeah, it
venture
was
into
a
the dungeon
repeatable source
sometimes.
of venture.
Yep.
Definitely.
The Manticore would have also been interesting. It's that is an effect that you don't see that often, and attached to a flyer, better
Well,
than it usually is.
attached to a thing with flash, right?
Yes,
Is the
but
other spicy
yeah,
one.
yeah. Well, we've seen before like a 4/2 that did the same thing, but this was a 2/1 with flying instead. Sepulture Ghoul is a reasonable 2 drop. There's the card draw spell here, contact other plane, but
I think I'd be looking at the card
see,
draw.
yeah,
Actually, no, Sepulchre Ghoul. What's his two drop count? Like four or five? And a lot of those are kind of sack fodder. So no,
yeah. He
I
doesn't
think
have
either
too
one
too
can be
many yet.
reasonable.
He's looking at the draw spell here, which is also fine.
Yeah, I mean you're never gonna be that unhappy to cast it. You might be
Yeah.
unhappy to draw it sometimes, but that's how it goes.
Yeah, I think you'd rather pay 3 mana for that effect, but the fact that it's instant gives it a bit more flexibility.
He can hold up. I mean, he does have counter magic, so it's not as
Yeah.
if you see maybe get himself in that spot where he gets to hold up both
Well,
and
here's some
feel
red
clever.
cards. That Chaos Channeler, which was a very premium type of card.
Oh yeah, that's unbelievable. Uh,
That
well, I mean, fairly
that might
believable,
just
but
be like an
unfortunate.
aberration. The pack maybe just was full of red cards.
Yeah.
Now he's going over his red cards in his sideboard and finding not much to be desired.
I mean, the thing is though, like the black card in the pack, that skeleton that dies into Venture, that's one of his one of his better creatures, right? Uh, I think that card should be the pick here, and I don't think he'd be that unhappy with it.
No, it's just when you put it side to side with Chaos Channeler, you are not
That's
pleased
fair.
with the black
It
card.
looks like, yeah, it looks like
But
he's taking the safe approach.
he's dug in his heels here for his blue black deck, and
Yeah. Orb of
he's gonna make
Dragon
this
Kind.
deck as good as possible instead of speculating or cutting.
Right. I think here, I remember people claiming Shocking Grasp was good. Did
Yeah.
you run into any of those people or ever play the card yourself?
I don't remember it showing up much in this format. It certainly is no startle, but
Mm.
it
That's right. That I forgot about Startle. Looks like
yeah,
we're going to see
the
it
startle is the
going in
same
the
card
deck.
except you get a 2/2 with Decayed on top of everything.
Is getting a free 2/2 good?
I mean,
I'm not
those
sure.
cards, it doesn't take too much for you to be able to 2 for 1 with those type of cards, but it also just
True.
might not make the cut. I remember for me those type of cards don't often make the cut. This
Yeah.
Fangblade here is a pretty serviceable card.
Yeah, that was I mean, they didn't want to block it most of the time, so it got through a decent chunk of the time. And
Yeah,
worst
and
case
when you need
scenario,
it
it
to trade,
trades.
it trades up if you need it to. So,
Absolutely.
and he's a bit low on threes right now, so
I think he's
no
got to take
problem
that
there.
runaway trash spot out of here. Like his artifact count is quite low now as a portion of his whole deck.
Yeah, we'll see if he decides he wants a creature that he can defend himself with potentially, rather than ever get to attack for a lot. But we are just getting to the halfway mark right about now of this
Good
draft, which
point.
is 3.5 packs in. So he's his final deck is going to change quite a bit from what we're looking at right now. He took the Arcane Investigator, which is a pretty okay 2 drop that can do something late in the game. Trade off early, draw a card or two later.
Yeah, the issue is with cards like that, right? Is the the reason it didn't work so well in AFR was like the tempo efficiency axis. It doesn't do that much. Like it's very rare in that set that you were in a spot where you could sit and spend 5 mana to draw a card. And in a draft with this many cards in it, that's almost exacerbated just because the average card quality is going to be higher. People are going to be putting on uh, more pressure with better cards, even though they're not using any particular synergies. Just people can throw together aggro decks with a dozen 2 drops and a bunch of efficient removal just because there's so
Yeah.
many cards in their
Well,
pool.
in that case, it can block, which is fine.
That's fair.
All
Yeah,
right.
none of those cards that we're picking in this pack are likely to make the deck,
Yeah,
and the
winding
same is true
down
for
to
this
the end of the
pack as
pack. A
well.
couple of venture cards here and the Boulette.
The Bulette. I never quite learned what a Bulette was, but
Uh, yeah, you got me. I don't know. It's a beast.
anytime there's a one-word card name, you perk up a little bit. But
Um,
Bulette just didn't connect anything for me. Great Axe, on the other hand, that's a great card name.
Great Axe. Yeah, he took away the Devour Intellect. Again, these are
Deck.
not cards that are going to be played.
No.
So right now we have a deck that's a little conflicted over what its strategy is. Is he like a Flyers tempo deck, or is he a you know defend myself with high toughness creatures deck? Let's see how the rest of these packs play out. Here's a
Right now
very
we're on
unfriendly
to
pack here with
right. Well,
a
it's going to be an unfriendly set for him because blue-black, not a supported color
yeah.
pair in Strixhaven.
Well, if you did go green, there's a primal command there hiding at the bottom of the screen. But let's see what he decides on here. I mean,
I
Introduction
think
to
the pick
Annihilation
here is
is a card
Intro
you
to
can play.
Annihilation. Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to get a thing dead, and the
Off-color
random card they draw is
campuses.
probably gonna be worse than whatever you're exiling.
Can we talk about 1 out of 2 campuses here? Just having that utility in your deck for the long game at a reasonably low cost, I think is something to consider as well.
I think he might be thinking the same thing. I saw him mousing over the Witherbloom campus for a moment.
Yeah, well, the semester's end and whatnot are all
Yeah,
fairly niche, so he could go a lot of different ways here. I'm curious to see what he will do.
yeah, he's not going to get any gold cards here. So
Right.
in this pack, he's going to look at his sideboard, seeing what is or is not available to him as far as
You would
maybe
take
other
Intro to
options.
Annihilation here, hoping, you'd get a couple playable learn cards in blue and black. Uh, and it looks like
It's
he's
like
going to go
he's
for the
going to the
land. Yeah.
campus. It's a card he's confident will make his deck every time.
Yeah, I think I approve of that choice.
Well, there's a there's a
Is
go
another
blank.
campus.
There's a hunt for specimens, which is a
Damn.
learn card that could have gone with his lesson.
This deck has two good
Quandrix,
lessons and two
yeah,
playable learn cards for him.
yeah. The
Yeah,
Quandrix
that's
Pledge Mage usually ends up being a pretty reasonable 3 drop, of which his 3 drops aren't really doing a lot right now. So that might be the pick here.
well, it's not. It's instant or sorcery specifically, and he's actually like
Yeah,
somewhat lower on those than he is
yeah,
on non-creatures as a whole.
yeah. It's like
It
he's
looks like he's going to
highlighted
go for
the
yeah
hunt for
the hunt for
specimens.
specimens.
Maybe hope to pick
I would
up a
just
lesson to go with it.
exactly hunt for specimens also works with some of his exploit cards.
Yeah,
Uh, it's a good learn card, and we'll see what he gets to pull out of his sideboard.
yeah. I assume he'll be maybe prioritizing lesson if he sees one.
Yeah, the risk you take there is that the well of lessons might dry up really quickly, and
Yeah.
that would be
Oh,
the downside to the.
finally a very powerful
Ooh,
card comes his way in this, tempted by the Auric, which is
yeah.
a
I mean,
variant of a control magic.
there's a lesson in here, but I gotta say,
Mm,
I'm pretty tempted by the Auric here.
yeah, yeah, that's good. It's been a while since he's seen something that's been really, really powerful. So this just means that the people that are passing to him this way are definitely not in blue because they would have taken that over pretty much anything.
You have to imagine. So yeah,
So he's gonna see. There's one more pack coming from this direction. So hopefully he'll
mm.
get. And in Zendikar Rising, blue was very, very good, particularly at common, very deep. So
right. Blue
he
blue
might be
black
seeing a
was
big, big improvement, uh, particularly from the Zendikar pack, which is at the end.
the trouble is blue black and Zendikar was rogue and mill focused, right? It was a lot of synergy cards. Like your gold uncommon there
Oh,
is uh, a synergy card.
yeah.
So I
Well,
don't know how
blue
well
is
it'll
just
fit
really
here.
deep at common. There was like the Royal Mage that if you paid kicker, you get back a
Mm.
spell. There was
Went into the royal.
into the row. There was the 3 drop that if you kicked it, you could bounce a creature. There was the divination that you could draw 3 cards. So it was just like very deep and not archetype dependent either.
Let's look into this pack here. Expressive Iteration, constructed playable card. Ten of the
Yeah,
Pests,
I
a
mean
decent card.
Tezzeret's
Tezzeret's
Gambit
Gambit,
is okay. He
probably
already
the
has
pick
a couple of
here.
draw spells. I don't know how much counter synergy he has. I don't see very much here in his deck. I think he might be scanning to see if he can
Yeah,
put counters on anything. I don't
I
really
think
see a
it, I
way.
think it
He
might
could
be actually
proliferate.
zero.
He could proliferate his modern age to make it flip faster, I suppose.
That was the thing you could do in our Kamigawa League because we had Gambit in the archive cards.
Yep.
Gosh, I still think
It's,
it's the pick here.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if you want 3 of those draw 2 spells, but it certainly is an upgrade over some of the other ones.
yeah. This is actually where we're getting a bit punished for that land pick out of pack one because you might notice all the lesson cards been snapped up by people, so there's nothing to
Nope.
go get with his
People are taking the
Pen the
lessons.
Pest. Yeah. Brackus Trudge, a decent card. I don't think he's got a couple ways to gain life. He's at least got the 2/3 Death Toucher that I can think of. Um,
Yeah, blue's not really contributing to life gain, unfortunately, so
yeah,
he's not going to get much out of that. The Clockwork Archivist is a reasonable sideboard card. You know,
yeah, it is
I've,
big.
I didn't dislike it. So, but
I
he went for
really
the
dislike the
Serpentine
Serpent.
Curve.
I really dislike that pick. Like you're gonna have an average number of non-creature spells in your deck,
Yeah,
and it's not even non-creatures; it's instants and
you're going to have to
sorceries.
work really hard to make it be better than a 3/3 in most games.
Yeah, I don't expect that should make the final pool.
So there's another reasonable learn card here, but he doesn't have any lessons to go with it. The Arcane
Right.
Subtraction.
Arcane Subtraction
Uh,
was a card that wound up overperforming, I think, relative to how people saw it, but that was just off the back of how good Lesson Learned turned out to be. And in
yeah,
with but a single pack of Strixhaven.
this
And
is it's certainly better than the Shocking Grasp we saw in the last pack. If you're
well,
playing
I
two
mean it
cards
is
side
if
by
you've got
side.
learn cards.
Yeah. Well, let's see if you can maybe get a lesson here to Go with his
Yeah,
two
I
learn
mean your
cards.
odds are pretty thin here. Like any lesson you're gonna get is gonna be real. I don't have high hopes for it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, no lesson here. There's another flyer here, which I mean that might just be his best bet to go with the flying strategy here. Just
I
corner the
would take
market on
off-color
3 power
campus number
flyers.
two. I think I
Right.
would take the campus
Okay.
again, though, for the same reasons we didn't pack one.
He's mousing.
Various.
He's looks like he's considering those two. I mean, the campus does help you in certain situations, but I think with the way his deck's structured, he just needs these evasion creatures. I
I
think
think
that's
it's
going to be his
value
route
over
to victory.
replacement.
Yeah,
Value over replacement's the argument for taking the campuses, right?
yeah.
Like you can expect to get decent four-drop creatures in a way you can't expect to get lands that do things.
Well, there's a lesson, but not the right color for him.
Mhm.
And that was quite a good lesson. But it's
Yeah,
between an
one of those
unwilling
situational
ingredient,
ones.
a campus guide if he thinks he might be splashing. Um, not sure
I
how
think you take
appealing
the
any of these
ingredient
cards
here,
are.
right? He's still got those exploit cards, so
Yeah,
ingredient seems
he's
decent
yeah.
to me.
The Rot Tide Gargantua is still in his sideboard, but might find its way
Oh,
back
really? Hmm.
in deck building. Yeah, unwilling ingredient is like very serviceable.
I'm
Looks like
gonna
he's
take
taking
the
the
lesson.
lesson. Maybe he'll
Interesting.
find a free way to make red in his deck, such as an Archway Commons that has showed up here.
I think here you just take the third campus.
Yeah, he's gonna do that.
I'm surprised.
If you took the red lesson, I think the Archway Commons is just a better pick. But let's see.
I just like having campuses.
Yeah, he agrees with you.
Seems like no one else in the pot does though. They've been coming around pretty easily.
Yeah, I guess people are they're just focused on making their spells as good as possible.
But a bunch
Here's
of
another
weirdos.
campus. So
Yeah,
see
I,
how
I
interested he is in that.
I'm gonna take it if I'm the one piloting the draft. Like the thing with Quandrix Pledge Mage is that A, he's fairly light on spells to trigger it, and B, the double blue pips versus double hybrid pips matter somewhat for a card you really want to get down on curve.
Yeah, he is going to take that just to fill out his threes. He does still have 2 packs left, but there's another Serpentine Curve, but I don't know if they're going to make the cut here.
I mean, he's got time to shift his deck in a more spells oriented way if that's where he wants to go with it.
Yeah.
I think that might have been one of those picks you make because if everybody else is passing the campuses, how good can they really be?
All right, well,
Same with Serpentine
there's
Curve.
another Serpentine Curve here, so
I might
uh,
take teach by example, just
this is,
maybe
I
you
mean,
copy bleed dry with it. Yeah, no.
maybe he's going to, backdoor himself into like a really nifty type of spells deck here with all these Serpentine Curves that nobody else was taking.
Hmm.
We'll just have to see how the other packs pan out.
Yeah, that could be interesting. There were some spells payoffs in Zendikar
Yeah,
Rising, although I
Call
don't
Time
remember
was
what.
mostly permanent based stuff,
Right.
snow and creature types and all that. There was a teach by example there late. He immediately put it in the sideboard, but if he's a deck that wants 3 Serpentine Curves, it's a deck that wants to teach by example. Those 2 cards want to be in the same deck, I think. Well, he's got a blue rare here, but not the one he's looking for. This
No,
Ascendant
Ascended
Spirit
Spirit.
that can get
One
very
of
big
the
if you have lots and lots of snow mana.
one of the more ambitious picks possible in our format. Weathered Greenstone next to it, also kind
I
of
mean, it was
hilarious.
ambitious in its own format, but
That's true.
yeah, looking at not too much you're excited about here.
Yeah, no, this is a rough one for our blue black drafter.
Yeah, the Funeral Longboat has upside, 3/3 with vigilance. It's
I don't know if that's upside so much as just what it is.
it's
It's only
it's
got one
okay.
side. It's a
Yeah,
boat.
it's okay.
Yeah. Do you take like Lujara Kinseekers? Maybe just to go with I don't know, your zombie gold card.
I think
And the
that's
rogue gold card you're gonna get in Zendikar.
yeah. I think he's just taken. He took the flyer
Yeah.
there. Just
Well, Vega the Watcher, I mean, if he had more flashback
I
cards,
believe
or
yeah. I believe
Disturb,
it works with flashback and all that.
it would work with Disturb as well.
There's a Maskwood Nexus.
Ooh, but there's a Port of Carfell.
The Port of
It's a land
Carfell.
land that does things. Hello,
Yeah,
at
the Maskwood
instant
Nexus
speed.
is hard to make work. He does have a couple of lords in his deck. He has the Zombie
Yeah,
Lord and the Spirit Lord, but
Turgid Shadow's a cool card too.
the Port
Actually,
of
this is an
Carfell is
interesting pick.
just such a good card, and the fact that it's a land, I think that's what I would go towards. Let's see how he reacts.
You can try to wheel Port of Carfell because it's a gold card, right? And you can take whichever one of Turgid Shadow or Maskwood Nexus you think is stronger.
Yeah, but if you're like one of your main colors is black, you can splash that card, and
Well,
it's you can try and splash it.
I guess.
Looks like you might be
I'm
leaning
not
toward the
sure.
Maskwood Nexus here or the Turgid
I
Shadow.
think I I think I would be greedy and try to wheel the land.
Okay, he's
It
gone
looks
for
like he's
Turgid
going to
Shadow.
take
He doesn't have
Shadow.
that much interaction, so that's
Turgid
what he
Shadow, a
wants. He does have
powerful
a lot
card.
of he does have a lot of little creatures that are expendable. So
It can be a clean 2 for 1 if
yeah,
either your board's empty or you don't care about the creatures on there.
yeah.
And that's fairly powerful.
Like if you already got a card off his creatures, like the
Right.
Virus Beetle or things like that, or
Here,
if he
how do you
sacks
feel
the
about
Novice Occultist.
Drugger's Helm? I remember being on the slow side for those equipments that come with their own token carriers. Like Equip 4 is just really expensive.
Plus two menace is just it must be handled. Every creature
Oh,
must be handled.
okay.
The Elder
He
Fang
lost
Disciple might slot in better
Cody
with what he's
Wraith.
doing. Yeah, we just had a slight disconnect here, but that means we can discuss this pick.
I think I'm with you on Trocker's Helm probably being the pick. It's just so expensive to move around. Like, sheesh.
Yeah, but on its face, it's a 5 mana 4/4 menace, which is fine.
That's true.
And the plus two menace was just always huge. Again,
You put that on a flyer, that hits pretty hard, yeah.
I really like cards like Elderfang Disciple. Like those are always cards I like. Virus Beetle, all those little
Mm.
2 and 3 drops that you can get a card out of, whether you're drawing or they're discarding.
I don't hate the Goldvein pick here
But
either. That's where I
he's
want to
going
go.
for the Elderfang Disciple. Works well with some of his sack synergies.
See, I'm a bit lower on those cards than you are in a vacuum. Like sometimes you draw them and your opponent's hand's empty and you're sad.
Yeah, I think here I would prefer the Draugr Helm, but I do like the Elderfang.
Another Vega the Watcher that doesn't do much.
Uh,
Way down, I think.
Way
Probably
down
the
seems fine. Like
card you take
he's
here.
gonna have creatures in his graveyard. His little creatures are gonna die. So
Yeah, and cheap removal actually
very
is
very
something he's a
efficient.
bit low on too.
Yeah, very
So you can
efficient.
play that and then hold up counter spell right on turn 3 or 4, and
Yeah,
that's a good way to kind of get back on tempo and take over the game from there. Hopefully,
yeah, this works.
looks like he did get the trash spot out there finally, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, it took a minute, but it's out.
I didn't hate where the sex wound up. Like it's kind of funny. He's going to get to run like 2/3 of his lands as islands just because he's pretty heavy on the blue cards, and which is good because he's got a bunch of double pipped blue. That's fairly expensive.
There's a
Oh, we get
part
a
of
second
Carfell.
board of Carfell. Yeah, here I think I just take the land. Trying to wheel it out of this pack's a bit
Yeah,
too
the
greedy even for me.
Bergstrider, he doesn't have Snowland, so the
Yeah.
Bergstrider's not gonna do.
Rune of Flight is a good card.
Yeah, it's
A lot
good.
of his creatures already fly.
Disdainful Stroke is also a card I think he would be interested in, but this land is just so much better than a basic. So
Yeah, and the odds to get somebody with the instant speed reanimate on that thing, right? Because it's like 1/3 of the spell lands are instant speed, and it's one of them, and it can really just blow people out if they don't read
I
it.
like Mistwalker. It's just a nice curve filler.
Yeah,
It
Ice
works with
Drinker
his
Kraken,
it works with his
extremely
lords.
funny.
It works with his lords too. So
Yeah,
why not?
no, that card kept going higher and higher in this draft format as people got to play with it more.
I think people just started out on like, it's just mediocre. It's fine, but it really was a big time role player.
It'll be interesting to see how much of its power was the changeling, which is probably not going to matter so much in the chaos draft, versus how much was just being a flyer with the Metropolis sprite ability.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he does like I mentioned, he does have two lords here, so it's not, it might get a pump once in a while. Um, Nothing too interesting. I mean, that lifelink card, it
Yeah,
feeds his port of Carfell at least and
I'm
gains
a
him some
decent
life.
fan of that card,
Yeah.
just as a blocker that keeps you alive. Raider's Carve, I heard people claim was good by the end of the format.
Yeah,
Um,
his creatures are so small for the most part.
yeah, that's true,
Like
I think.
he literally like none of his 2 and 3 drops can crew it, and
Yeah,
some of his even some of his well his 4 drops can except for
I
the
think he's
bear. But
got I think
yeah, I
he's
think he's
got
scanning
four.
and figuring
Yeah,
out that Raiders Carve might not be attacking very much.
no, I think you're right.
He's taking the snow covered island. No,
No, there
he's
we go.
okay. Yeah, that was
Cutting it close on the click speed there.
so. There's another bounce spell with the set mechanic like we saw with
I mean, I think I
the
like Depart the
the
Realm
Crimson
over
Vow
the
one.
Cleave one, right?
Yeah,
Hitting any non-land permanent.
yeah, that's way
Yeah.
better. The Drugger Thought Thief. If you're really hard up for a 3 drop,
No,
eh,
that's the type of card in
does
in
something.
seven pack draft you can just totally ignore. It's
Yeah,
just so
absolutely.
replaceable.
Yeah, unless he ended up wanting specifically the creature types, which are it does have two potentially relevant
It
creature
is a
types.
rogue.
Yeah, it's a
I didn't
zombie and a
realize it.
rogue. So
Yeah, that might matter for those Zendikar
yeah, we'll
cards.
see if he
That's
ends up with some rogue stuff going on.
ooh.
So here's the
No one wanted to
Kinseekers.
try their luck with the Ascendant Spirit.
Here's the
What a
Kinseekers
bunch of cowards.
we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, this
I don't think it makes the cut right away,
nah,
but eh,
he instantly
he's
sideboarded it.
he's off it. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the disruptor's gone. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I think he's maybe not interested in just pure tempo cards.
Hmm. I think I'd take out. Yeah, I'm not sure what Unblinking Observer and
Yeah,
Sifters are probably low. I mean, he's got some deck building decisions to make too. Kennel Master was
Kennel
that
Master.
was your. Why don't you talk about Kennel Master for me?
Oh well, yeah. In the Call Time League, I had a black red aggro deck where I think I ended up with 3 of those by the end of the league, and that just put so many games over the top that were opponents were potentially getting back into. Though I'm not sure it's what he's looking for here, but I mean, pumping up 2 flyers could be a thing. But
Yeah, you
if
don't
you're not
benefit as
ahead,
much.
if you're not ahead, that card is you know worse than mediocre. I think.
Yeah, the Flyers don't benefit as much from the indestructible, so you're not getting all the most out of your power
Yeah, the
budget, I
fact that it could
guess.
target 2 things was like really huge because we've seen that effect where one thing can get targeted,
Mm,
and we're always okay,
right.
but 2 things was a
Yeah,
lot.
there was the Rage Scarred Minotaur in Theros or whatever it was called.
Yeah, even
Rage
in
Scarred
Zendikar
Berserker.
Rising, there was a white card that did it. It gave something indestructible when it came in. But I mean, he took it, but don't think it's going to be for his deck. I think he's seeing himself as a bit of a late game slower deck
Right. Which is
than
reasonable. He's got a
than
bunch
a
of
tempo sort
defensive
of deck,
creatures.
which he was. It wasn't clear before which it was going to be.
Oh, there's your snow covered island.
There you go.
Now you're talking. Oh my god, a second snow covered island
Yeah.
as the push?
With
Like in
his
Coldheim draft, you're laughing.
well, you can call him like that. That doesn't happen. So let's see what he has here. There's the aforementioned Royal Mage that I spoke of before. There's also a Deadly
Yeah.
Alliance, which will probably get a discount most of the time. It looks like a lot of his creature types fit into party.
I think I'm on the Royal Mage over the Deadly Alliance. As funny as that may sound.
Yeah, so he
Just
has the 5 drop that can get something back half the time when you win the die roll. This
oh
is
yeah.
quite a bit significantly better.
Yeah, the option to play it early. The loops you can do with it and cards which uh either get things back from the bin or draw cards.
Yeah,
It had
I
a really important role in this set.
I think
Deadly
traditionally,
Alliance,
yeah,
I think it's gonna cost him 4 mana most of the time,
yeah.
which
I'm
it's a
personally
fine
like
card still.
I think I still overvalue 1-for-1 removal. It's just that so many of the cards today are 2-for-1s. So
Mm.
just like that 1-for-1 removal, even though it's unconditional, even though it's instant speed, it's just not as good as it used to be. Like look at Tizzy Royal Mage for instance. Like You get it is a 2-for-1, whereas the Deadly Alliance is just a 1-for-1. So, um, like I think the old adage of like favoring removal, if it's just 1-for-1, I think today is maybe not as good as it used to be.
Here, I think I
Speaking of
really like the
which,
Malakir
he
Rebirth.
has another choice between 1-for-1 removal, the Malachor Rebirth, and the Cunning Geyser Mage, which was is also quite a reasonable card. But again, same as you were saying before, Malachor Rebirth just
It's a
infinitely
land
better
that
than a
does
basic
things.
land.
It's a land that does things, and that's my greatest
Yeah,
weakness in these
it's
formats.
like Cunning Geyser Mage and Vanquish the Weak are not going to be so much infinitely better than whatever card they kick out of the deck, but how much better is Malachor Rebirth in a Swamp? Like infinitely better.
Vanquish, to be fair, Vanquish, he is a bit light on cheap removal.
Yeah, it's
So
instant
if he's
speed.
going up against some aggro deck, he'll be pretty happy to have Vanquish the Week. Probably happier than the Malakir Rebirth.
Yeah,
But
I don't I'm
against
not
other
against that
decks,
pick at
though.
all.
Do you
Demon's
think we should do
Disciple.
Cycle deck? Like, are we in range with
He has a lot of expendable
all of our
creatures.
burglar rats?
Um,
Yeah.
so between that and I guess the Seafloor Stalker, I don't think he's taking Blood Price. He already has better versions of that effect that he's not going to
Yeah,
play all
Seafloor
of.
Stalker, if you're paying full retail for its activation, is not where you want to be. Looks like he is going for the Demon's Disciple.
Yeah,
And having to
that's
pass
it's a fine pick.
the red rare that draws you a card when you landfall is a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, the
Uh,
Valakut Exploration.
yeah, whoever winds up with that's going to be pretty happy. That card just kind of ensures you never, all your top
I
decks
mean, it
are
deals 2 damage to the opponent
so
too,
good.
right? If you don't play the card.
I thought it was one.
Okay.
I think two is Chandra. I think.
Oh, probably. Or it deals damage
Oh, it
equal
deals
to the amount
as
of cards
many as
that
you have
weren't played
exiled. Right. So
that
if you have
turn.
a fetch,
So
it's two.
so if you get 2 lands into play, sure.
Okay, there's our rogue rare we
There's a
were
gold
joking
card.
about earlier.
So
Yeah.
probably do a rogue check now. Um, it's clearly better than his other options here. Is Import
If only
Duelist
he'd
and the
taken that
Stalker.
Draugr Thought Thief.
Yeah.
The card you really want to take, I think, is Rockslide Sorcerer, but
Well,
he's just
we're
not set
we're a
up to
bit
splash red.
past that. Don't know how many of these things ended up being rogues here. He has a couple of changelings,
He's got a couple changelings.
but is anything a rogue?
Not
And that card is
really.
still just a 2-mana 1/3 flash flying. If you have it in your opening hand, it often just kills a creature when it comes down.
I
Yeah,
mean,
1/1s and 2/1s and all that.
that's fair.
The upside there is good too.
Zulaport Duelist is the same thing, though. It just doesn't fly afterwards.
Yeah, this is a flying creature. Yeah, I mean, it's his gold card, so
It is a gold card. I
he's
get
gonna
it's
take
hard
it.
to not take. It's just not going to do that much for him, I don't think. Sheesh.
Yeah, that's a late colony ambush there.
Yeah,
Dreadworm.
man.
I don't know. I'm a sucker for the Dreadworm. I find that card just hits hard.
I can see
Five
it.
power indestructible. I've just gone to points in games where it's like that's really really hard to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, in the set, your pick's probably between Pack Beast and Ambush. Or sorry, or if Pack Beast is more valuable in the set draft because
Yeah,
there's more party payoffs, but here it looks like the Dreadworm is going to be what he's thinking about.
yeah. I'm
I
probably
guess
higher on
Skyclave
Dreadworm than most
Sentinel,
people, but it
Skyclave
hits
Sentinel just
hard.
is a big, expensive flyer, isn't unreasonable either.
He doesn't have a lot of high drops either, so let's see what he prefers here.
Yeah, if you remember me running my mouth about like the giant crab,
He
I
took
don't.
the
Oh,
Shell Shield.
okay,
Um,
interesting. Oh, here I think you're taking.
there's a 4-mana
Uh,
3/2 flyer. There's a Mind Rot with has some extra text.
I think I would take
Not
Diviner, but
not
I'm not
sure
sure.
not sure how many wizards he has.
What I was gonna say was, if you
He might
remember
have a few.
me,
Like I think the Ginny Windseer is a wizard. The Aberrant Mind Sorcerer is probably a wizard. He might have a few.
might be it. If you remember me, oh yeah, the
Whispering
Whispering.
Wizard clearly.
That would make
He has
sense.
the Shapeshifter as well.
If you remember me talking about how
I
he didn't
think the
need to take
Novice
that big expensive
Occultist
crab.
might be a wizard, but I mean, again, the 4-mana 3/2 flyers. Oh, I find in like chaos type of draft, those cards are going to be a bit better than they usually are.
Yeah, they do hit pretty hard. I like Glacial Grasp here. That's a nice
Um,
little try to win the race effect.
Yeah, if he's
Um,
going for the instant and sorcery stuff too, that card works in many situations.
hmm. He never did get that sort of high end he passed on when he passed that whatever that 6 drop was from one of the Innistrad sets that we were talking about. And yeah, now yeah, it's unfortunate. He's built blue
Yeah,
black
it was the
spells
5/5
chaos.
crab with ward.
Yeah, we're like, oh, that's replaceable. It's like he really hasn't seen much to go into that slot, so that
Mm-hmm.
is unfortunate with how that's worked out. Amara Mystic, yeah, the this is a thing that can happen sometimes where
Rune crab
the synergy you're trying to
significantly.
go for is in different colors in other sets, right?
Rune
So
crab significantly worse in 60 card format.
it's
Not
true.
not
Um,
as threatening. I just remember games of Zendikar Limited where they played on turn one, and I just look at my hand and I'm like, oof, this is not going to be fun.
yeah, unfortunately, probably out of range of making Relic Golem work, which probably is, you know, if you're in blue black and Zendikar, you're all in on Relic Golem. But
Yeah.
again, without the mill support, you're just not doing much with it.
Yeah. So yeah, he has a few options of what to prioritize in his deck build. Um, could go more spells, could go
I think
more
he's just a pretty
flyers.
run of the mill control deck, right? Like
Yeah.
most of his
Uh,
powers and his removal, and he's
these
got some counter spells. He's
cards.
got some flyers to win the game with.
These cards are not very good.
Yeah, no, none of these cards appear to matter.
Yeah, Oblivion's Hunger was meant for an archetype that never came together even in that format.
Which archetype was that?
It was supposed to be for the +1 counters green black deck.
Oh, right, right, right.
It gave indestructible, and then if the creature had a +1 counter, you get to draw a card as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
I forgot that card existed.
Most people forget that that archetype existed because it never got played.
Makes sense.
Yeah, the payoffs were just not good enough. And like cards like Gnarlid Colony were just being taken by everyone because that card was very, very good.
Hmm.
Yeah, not too much here either.
Yeah, Mindcarver
Maybe
just again without the mill, just not doing enough for you here.
if he
Seafloor's
decides he's dedicated enough control deck, the Seafloor Stalker is a win con that will get
no,
there. But I don't think that's
he's
what he's
got things he
after.
doesn't have to pay
You know,
to make evasive. They just fly.
correct. Yeah, no, he's got the flyers. He's got he could have a bit more interaction, but he was pretty diligent at picking up interactive spells, and particularly in the
Well,
last
to his
couple
credit,
cuts.
he took just about all the removal he was offered.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, there's that
oh,
Dreadworm
Dreadworm
coming back. I
Wheel.
wonder if he
Yeah.
puts that right in the sideboard. No. Come
It's
back.
like, damn, the entire pool was
Yeah,
like,
that's
you know
that's
what?
that's cold.
This card Richard likes,
That's cold.
terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
All
don't
right.
prioritize it, but like every time I ended up with it, it just does what it says it does. It's a 5 power indestructible attacker.
So if you had to rate this deck, Richard, how would you do it out of 10?
Well, I mean, the drafting the seats, I think he could have tried to stay open a bit longer. Once he settled into his colors, I think he navigated the rest of the draft pretty well.
I
So
think this deck it's got a cohesive plan, but it feels really flimsy to me. Like if your opponent plays a 4 mana 4/4, you're already like the number of cards that can deal with it is fairly small. You get a couple death touchers, you got a couple fleet drives, and other unconditional removal, but you might just get bullied by
yeah,
medium sized attacking creatures.
like even aggro
That's
decks, like his 2 drops, he has a couple 1/3s, but like they're not even that beefy to block a lot of the time. So we'll see what other drafters come up with. Shortly, we'll be able to open up the draft
yeah.
logs to review the
Can we
pools.
get we get those from
We won't
Chris?
have time. Yeah, he's going to send it to me. We won't
Perfect.
have time to go over the drafts pick by pick now, but we will be able to see each player's pool in its entirety. He actually just sent me that, so
Oh,
let's
beautiful.
go to that.
And I can message Ben and tell him that he can stop streaming now
Yep,
because we don't need to follow his screen anymore.
correct. All right. So bear with me here. I'll share my screen once I download the document.
from the voices in the crowd here, what were people's thoughts on the draft they just saw?
I think I have to concur with your reading that the power's just not there. There were some good picks, but not anything that would make me think that like this is going to be easy for Ben, right? It's going to be an uphill climb.
All right.
I think.
Okay, so he's left the chat, so it's just the non-drafters here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do
I
want
would
to say
be.
that Ben's packs broke really badly for him. I think
Yeah. So
like the way just how he opened, they just felt like very dry at the beginning. And then when he was getting even when he was getting past cards, I understand black was probably very cut, but like even like some top blue commons weren't showing up for him.
right. So I'm gonna share my screen now, and we can look at some pools here. So we'll start here with Jay, who Ben was passing to.
Also,
Let's
Jay looked like he ended up blue.
We can sort by color here. Yeah. So Jay's a blue-green drafter for sure. Here he ended up with the gold cards, some of the gold cards that we saw, the Zimone, the Slogurk. I'm not sure how good that is.
I'm not.
He ended up with a couple big green creatures. He has this Dean here, which was mostly played for the blue side. Has this elf here, the rare elfish War Master. For blue, he has a blue dragon, Mind Flayer from the AFR. He himself
That's a nice
has a
one.
Whispering Wizard. He got the Cunning Geyser Mage and the Tazim Royal Mage that Ben passed on since he was passing in his direction in that last pack. So he got those cards that I think he took removal
We
over
got the
those.
Shrine Steward too. It
Yeah.
looks like maybe the Slogurk was maybe the gold card that convinced him, I guess. Blue-green is exactly
So
okay.
he went really hard on blue-green. Looks like mostly from the start, right? He has... we're separated by
Actually,
creatures and
no. The
non-creatures. Okay,
Slogurk might have gone
so going
the other way.
so
Never
this
mind.
separated by creatures and non-creatures. So I'm gonna eliminate that because
Is there anything he might want to splash here? Okujawi's a really good card too.
Yeah, so I'm just looking through the non-creatures. Charm Sleep, Disdainful Stroke. Do you prefer I do creatures separated from non-creatures or altogether?
I feel like it'd be simpler to see if the creatures are separated from the non-creatures.
Okay,
It's
so
just easier to see
that's what I had. So
where
these were the
the real cards
creatures.
are.
Look at the
Yeah,
non-creatures. He ended up with 2 of these decisive
Oh,
denials.
nice.
The
we
Ether
saw those.
Helix. He got the
Yeah.
Primal Command that was passed.
All the gold cards
The
that
Conley
Yeah,
ambush.
it's like a lot of these cards that we saw Ben passing: Tales of Master Shishiro, the Call Me Ambush, the Master's Rebuke that was like, a bit late in the first pack. The blue spells not really much going on aside from the Charm Sleep, but yeah, it looks like he's solidly Simic. Don't know if he's splashing. I mean, often the cards you
guess
splash for are like gold cards or removals, and
Oh, he might splash a Valakut Exploration. That would be the only
Uh,
one I would look at.
yeah, it's not impossible.
I mean,
And
I
if
do
he's
think
splashing red, he might throw this into the Child of the Pack. All right.
I do think from watching the draft from when I joined in, I feel like he could have probably leaned green a bit more. Ben.
Who could have? Oh, Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
we discussed
he had
that
some
a
opportunities.
pack or two in.
All right, so let's go to Adam S. or Wisma here. Looks like he's got. My eyes are drawn to some of these, this Velomachus and this
Hold
Firja
here.
here. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure
Venerable
if he's going to
Warsinger.
be playing all of them. He has Burgi in red. Atsushi.
Okay.
He's just got.
This were the
He
rares
just saw
when
some
then.
packs that were very good here. The Warsinger
Nighthawk
as well.
Scavenger is a crazy card too.
Nighthawk Scavenger.
Yeah.
In white, Search Party Captain is good.
White looks pretty filler.
Yeah.
What is creatures?
Yeah.
Looking at the spells, so he grabbed this Invoke Despair that we saw Ben open. He has a Grim Bounty, Hagra Mauling, Power Word Kill as well, so removal. He has 2 copies of this Explosive Welcome. We'll see what he decides to do with that. This
Can I see
is
the creatures
not
again?
a good Kaya.
He's got Great Hall of Starn. Oh, that was one of the average ones.
Yeah, this one was like sack.
Because your guys did die. Yeah.
I feel like he'll have trouble casting.
Looks
his
like he's going to
spells.
be either black red or splashing Velomachus, or like maybe straight Mardu, perhaps, depending on what he decides to do.
Boros splashing black. Actually, no, I don't know.
I think it's white, black, splashing red.
It
His
could be
red,
that too, but he has this
Velomachus-
red rare here, though.
Oh, that's sushi, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so-
Bergie.
Yeah, how's his fixing? I didn't see much by the
He
way of
has
it.
Campus Guide
Campus.
Stonework Pack Beast, which is not exactly what I remember for fixing. He has a replicating ring. No dual lands to speak of here.
Mm.
He's trying to get Tron essentially
Okay.
every game.
All right. So next to
It'd be an
Jeremy,
interesting
who's I
deck
think
building
in
for
his
that
what
one.
5th or 6th top 8 already.
Yeah, the
This is
guy.
Jeremy's sixth top 8.
The
Yeah.
Wow.
guy's kind of due to win
Unbelievable.
one.
So he is. I think he narrowed in on
White
something
green.
right from the start because there is no options to do anything except for a green white deck
I
here.
think it might have been open.
Yeah.
He stole Johnny's thunder, man.
So here's some Drugskull infantries. Lots of 2-drops here. Like just
Right.
so many 2-drops.
A
This is
fearless
just
fledgling would just
like
wins games.
just 2-drops. He's just going to play 2-drops and 3-drops and try and get them through. And he has some top end here: Flourishing Hunter, Tanuki, Brambleworm. These
3 oxen.
Oxes. If you're aggressive enough, these cards will close out the game
That
very
card is
quickly.
so brutal in multiples too. Like
He has a couple of
land
field
type and 2
trips.
things.
I don't know if he
I suspect
he
he's
does
not
have
going to play them.
lessons. He has Expand Anatomy and Introduction to Annihilation. He also has a
Anatomy is a
Wandering
good one.
Emperor, which he probably
Oh
opened.
fuck!
So let's try and keep our language PG here.
Oh, sorry about that.
No worries. He might try and
Angel
splash this
Fire
Angel Fire, I
Ignition.
guess. He has a Lorehold Campus and a Forest here.
Yeah,
And
he's
2
got.
Rockfile Veils. So
Yeah,
he's well set up to potentially splash a Braid, Moonragers, Slash, and these Angel Fires in Houston. He has a
I
spinning
just
wheel
don't know if
kick
he
too.
needs to.
Yeah,
Does he need
we'll
to?
see if he decides to go for maybe a bit more fleshed out deck, or like with the splash, or just a very very focused aggressive deck. But
Yeah.
yeah, he went in and he got what he needed, I think.
Oh, there's a frog hemoth in there too. As
This
another
kind of looks like
great
one of
location.
those
Yep,
drafts
yep.
that
Worked out.
this looks like one of those drafts that like you actually focused and you kind of didn't get like you got reward for it sort of.
Yeah, this is a draft in the easy way draft.
So we got Sawyer here. It looks like he's going to be a black-red deck. Lots of black here. He must have opened this Junji, the Midnight Sky. Gelatinous Cube as well. Notable creatures here. Voldaren Bloodcaster. So some good rares in
The
black.
red cards look a bit more mediocre to me.
Yeah, well,
Like
we'll see how his burn spells work out. The Fangblade Brigands were good.
Are they?
Cardur
Carter's a
is
good one.
a reasonable one.
Fair
Maybe
enough.
he's got
That's a
some
really
burn
powerful
spells here to
uncommon.
work out. Well, he has
Yeah,
some red
maybe
spells
he
here.
does.
Well then,
He has some red spells here. 2 shots, Spike Field, Goblin Morningstar, Cathartic Pyre,
Royal Eruption.
Royal Eruption. Doesn't have infinite burn spells. A lot of these red
No.
spells are not the best, but let's see his
Oh, he's
black
got a bunch
spells.
of active treasons. Do you think he's trying
Not too
to
much
be...
removal in black. Actually, just the Grizzly Ritual. So it's weird because he got the hookup on all these black rares, but didn't get the black removal. He does
maybe
have a
just
couple
opened all the
of.
black rares.
Does have some good lessons here. I didn't notice. Did we notice any learn cards here? Because these are good lessons: Annihilation, Prophecy, and Indian.
Not that I remember seeing. No.
Yeah,
No, I didn't see any.
Investigator's Journal. I don't know if that's that interesting, but yeah, this looks like a pretty straightforward black red. Gonna lean on the high power level of these cards here, but
Right.
looks like he has a.
He's gonna struggle to kill the big things.
Right, let's get to Johnny, who is in his. You'll tell me how many top 8s.
4.
Yeah, 2-time champion, including and +1 player of the year. Only his 4th top 8. He's
So
remarkably
he looks.
efficient.
You think he went hard into red, very aggressive here, like Rabbit Battery, Simeon Sling. But I've noticed the 2 Hobgoblin Captains, 2 copies of Hulking Bugbear, the Ogre Head Helm.
Possibly just mono red.
Maybe.
It's possible. Like all these Scorched Riders, I don't know if he wants them though. Like a lot of just filler 4-drops. His other big colors here are red, white, or blue and white.
And even then, those don't look like cards you take highly. They just look like cards you wind up
He has
with.
a Wandering Mind and a Maelstrom Muse over here, as well as a Lorehold Pledge Mage. But nothing. He has an Organ Hoarder is really the most notable thing, and in white, like virtually nothing notable. Well, the Welcoming Vampire. Let's see the spells. The spells might tell us. He has Bounding Gold, Fierce Retribution. So this is a red-white deck, almost certainly. Faraday's Fireball, Lacerate Flesh, Demon Bolt, Run Amok, which was kind of one of the best combat tricks we've seen in a while. Flame Blessed Bolt here, Windscarred Crag for fixing. Yeah, looks like very straightforward. Heavy red, but white seems to be pretty solidly his other color. Like he has a Sunrise Cavalier, the Barkov Waltzer. This is for sure a red-white deck, but as we see, red was very open in his spot.
Even though Sawyer was heavily taking red cards as well, but probably more highly black cards.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks like
Sawyer was more taking
Sawyer
black,
wound
and the
up
red
with
was
all
the
the
support color.
Yeah.
Sawyer wound up with all the red removal. Johnny's got all the red creatures.
Let's
Is
look
what
at
it looks like.
Christopher G. Is I believe it was his first league or second league.
This is indeed his first league.
Yeah, so first league, first top 8. Looks like he's spread out amongst Sultai colors here. We can try and figure out which ones he's going to rely heavier on.
He's got a bunch of
Dreamstrix.
double white pipped gold cards.
He has
that
a
are
lot of
quite
1/1
powerful.
flyers for one. So
Mm.
these black cards don't look very good, but the Blossom Prancer, Hookhand Mariner, Sport Crawlers. Yeah, there's nothing sticking out here. Doesn't really have the bombs.
Best card is like Liesa, Forgotten Archangel, and
Yeah,
that's white black.
Lies is like a bit far out of what he looks to be doing, and his spells don't really clear it up. Though Essica's Chariot is excellent,
It's a
but also a
house.
splashable card.
That's the unnerved Jessica's Chariot.
Colony Ambush looks like he's going to be a base green. He has a bunch of fixing here. Though he has Silver Quill campuses, so he might try and do something crazy and maybe play this Liesa in a green-black build. Look, if he has removal, defenestrate, power word, kill. Yeah, this looks to be a green-black base, potentially splashing for various things. And we'll see if he gets, brazen enough to go for the Liesa,
I'm just
which
not sure he has the fixing to go for much of that.
yeah.
After
Well, we'll see.
seeing what Sawyer and like Chris drafted, I could see how misleading Ben had been in his draft, considering that like they're both drafting blue.
Yeah, it was a tough seed.
Yeah,
Here.
there's this corner of the table here that's all stepping on each other's
All right,
toes.
let's
It
see
looks like.
Cody here, who's had an astounding regular season part of the league with
Yeah, the most dominant regular season of all time.
with his zombie deck. So he's white. Looks like he's white-black
Oh
here,
my.
based on what we can see. Let's look at
Yeah,
some of these
what was that
cards.
mythic that we just went past?
That's
Oh,
an
Wait,
Naishi.
open that.
Anashi, the Moon Sage
Okay.
Scion, and white.
That's the one that lets you cast spells off the top of their
He
deck
has a Welcoming
for life.
Vampire, as does Johnny. Triple Story Seeker and Steadfast Paladin, so a lot of these tutus with lifelink that
Yeah,
can
a lot of
just
cheap cards.
get you some value. It looks like, and they're going to work well with his Marchive Purifier. Looks like he found a life gain deck. We have quite multiple ways here. Yeah, he has a Priest of Ancient Lore. Looks like he's has some good life gain synergies here. Aura might work. I think all these 2-drops are clerics. So
a lot of mythics opened in Kamigawa. It seems
uh,
there was the
yes, he
Junji,
has
there was
2
Atsushi.
Humiliates, which was a good card. Double Okiba Reconnerate. So he's just going for a black-white, pretty aggressive looking here with all those two lifelinks and these Okiba raids.
Yeah. Some
Feed the
equipment in there too.
Swarm. Go blank. Yeah, Mage Hunters, Onslaught, Deadly Alliance. Eye of Vecna he has. Iron Verdict, Nihiri's Binding. Yeah, so he's pretty clearly black-white. I don't imagine he'd be looking to splash things.
I wonder
here.
what his matchup will be like versus the red-based aggro decks, because
And then
he's
we
going to be a
have-
bit on the slower side,
then
but
we
he's
have
got a lot of life
Ben's,
gain stuff too.
Yeah,
black
Ben
deck.
Ben definitely trapped himself being black.
All right, so I'm going to we're going to wrap up here, and then we're going to be back for round 1.